what I'd like to do right now, instead of reading each and every single one of our panelists' bios individually and announcing all of them, I'd like to ask all of our panelists to come to the stage if I could at this time, just to save some time in order to get to everything a little bit faster. So have a seat wherever you want to like, and we'll go boy, girl if we need to. I'm not going to, again, read everything for every single one, every person's bio. Does everyone have their information in all of our panelists' bios? Have everyone had access to that? Okay, so I guess I will read all the bios, and then we'll be done at 9 o'clock, and then we'll thank you. But I'll just touch on them very briefly. Dionna Smith Keels. Dionna, go ahead and raise your hand there. She leads the Global Diversity Talent Strategies and Recruitment for programming at Delta Airlines. In this role, she's responsible for developing diversity talent attraction strategies that ensure diversity is at the forefront of Delta's expanding hiring needs. Tamika Curry-Smith. Tamika is the head of diversity and inclusion at Mercedes-Benz USA, where she's responsible for the formulation and implementation of the company's diversity and inclusion strategy. Ann Yamamoto. Ann is an experienced hospitality industry professional with more than 25 years in strategy. She currently serves as the head of talent acquisition and program management for IHG. Marcus Yates. For more than a decade, Marcus has provided talent acquisition, organizational development, and talent consulting services to some of the best and brightest leaders in the country. He currently serves as the principal team leader for staff selection for Chick-fil-A. Dr. Aisha Wright-Burke. Dr. Wright-Burke is an HR professional with 18 years of accomplishments in union, non-union, and global environments. She's held a variety of roles with expanded responsibility over the course of her career, and she is currently Human Resources Director with ADP. Am I saying that right? Edward? Awesome. And finally, we have Giancarlo Davila. Giancarlo is currently with SAP, and he has 15 years experience in the HR industry. He's held positions in organization design management, training and development, and HR shared services management. So again, we are so glad to have our panelists here, and I'm just going to jump right into it. Again, being cognizant of our time and wanting to get to our questions in the audience, which I know there's going to be a lot. So Dionna, first, I'd like to come to you. What type of characteristics does your organization look for when searching for talent in the marketplace there at Delta?
Not to put you on the spot or anything, right? Just jump right in. So obviously, I'll go over some kind of overarching, right? So no matter what role. So at Delta, we have what we call the rule of the road, and many companies have this where it is where we talk about what's important to Delta, how we do business, what we're looking for in our employees. And so just to touch on a couple of those, kind of the first one we touch on is knowing our business. And I think that that's important because that speaks to a person's curiosity in learning the business, right? Going that extra mile to really understand the industry. If you're not from the aviation industry, are you willing to learn more about our business? Are you willing to talk to different business units and understand how you fit into the big picture? Also, improving constantly. We are growing like crazy, which is a wonderful problem to have. I sit within talent acquisition, and we will be hiring about 5,000 people over the next 2 years. So we have our work cut out for us. And that's a variety of different roles. So constantly, anytime you're growing like that, we're constantly improving, we're constantly growing. And also, you know, we're at a wonderful time at Delta where we're leading the industry in what we're doing, we're growing, and it's important for us to always stay ahead and stay competitive. So one of the areas that we're really focused on is technology. And so, though Delta has a strong brand, and we absolutely love that. I've worked for small companies that didn't have a brand. I know the big difference in recruiting between the two. However, we're not always necessarily coming first of mind for a person who is in technology or is coming out of school and technology and thinking about going out west for some of the other tech companies. So we're spending a lot of time. I mean, my time? Okay. Thank you.
Right.
So, in closing, and one of the other big ones that I just want to touch on is building teams. Because we are growing, we are spending a a lot of time, a lot of focus on developing our leaders. And developing our leaders, diversity and having an inclusive environment is like one of our top 4 people. You know, when we have our list of things that we're focused on our people, making sure we have a diverse and inclusive environment is one of them. Having worked in a lot of large companies, that's not necessarily or usually the case. So I'm excited to be a part of an organization that does value that. So don't knock yourself out. A lot of people think I don't have airline industry experience or haven't even worked for large companies. I'm seeing more people come through that are coming from startups, which is exciting. That's the type of environment that we have.
Awesome. Let's stay on diversity for a second. Thank you for segueing into that. So Tamika, how does diversity inclusion play into the overall viability for career movement at Mercedes-Benz USA? So are there internal groups at a company like yours that someone can join, be a part of in order to help with their movement? Talk a bit about diversity at your organization.
So, I mean, we really view diversity and inclusion as a business imperative. And just to kind of set the stage a little bit, 3 years ago, Mercedes-Benz USA moved our headquarters from Montvale, New Jersey, here to Atlanta. And since we've been in Atlanta, first of all, half of the people didn't come. So we got to Atlanta, had to staff up really quickly. And since we've been here, our new hires have been 40% people of color, 50% women, 13 years younger. So that has created a very different workforce than we had when we were in New Jersey. So as a result, we've had to really make D&I one of our core strategies, similar to what you talked about at Delta, from everything from a talent acquisition perspective in terms of how do we continue to build that pipeline of diverse talent outside the organization and inside. Once you get there, we obviously want to retain and develop you, so we do have what we call business resource groups that are groups of employees that come together. We have an African American, LGBT, women's group, et cetera, that really focus on development and business impact and community. And then we have a variety of business-focused strategies because if you think about it, Mercedes-Benz is a very well-known brand, and historically our customer has been, I would say, somewhat let me think of how to say it. Customer has been very homogeneous, okay? And now our customers are from all walks of life. Our entire product line has grown tremendously from what used to be the S-Class, which was the standard. Now we have the C-Class, we have an A-Class we're coming out with. We have literally college students that come out and buy a Mercedes-Benz. So that has required us to really shift the way we do business, the way we manage our teams, and the way we view creating a company that has and appreciates perspectives from all walks of life. So it absolutely is a critical part of
So it sounds like your business line had to diversify along with your workforce.
Absolutely.
I have several colleagues who work at ADP. I always hear about some of the great things that they do and why it's such an awesome place to be. What strategies does a company like yours use to retain the best talent? What can we do to stay at these companies that we're trying to get into?
That's a great question. At ADP, and I think this is a lot of things we do at ADP, other companies also employ. So at the beginning, think about the manager-employee relationship. How someone is retained within a company is very personal. Sometimes you don't always have that luxury, so that's why you have your broad benefits, and then you have a relationship between your manager and yourself. So let's look at those two buckets. So someone, as far as learning personally what they like, as far as retention or what might have them stay with a company like ADP, maybe flexible work arrangements depending on the work that they do. How much flexibility do they have to work from home? Keeping in mind that we're working collaboratively while we're doing it, having technology to support it. In addition, it may be that, asking them about their day. So there's a variety of things that can happen that are kind of small potatoes. Big potatoes, like flexible work arrangements that impacts how you work every single day, but also what can you do from a monetary perspective depending on what the situation is, and how you need to retain your business or the people that are supporting you in your business have those key skills. Additionally, we talk about the big bucket of things as far as benefits. Within the last 30 days, ADP has actually implemented a couple different things, addressing different stages of person in their life. So if you're coming out of college, maybe you need help with student loans. I wish they had that when I joined. Or for the person that's caring for their parents, emergency adult daycare. Emergency daycare for people who have children. So different things like that, or extending your parental leave, so they extended it by 2 weeks. In addition to the 12 weeks, we already had 2 weeks, they added an additional 2 weeks to it. By far not the most in the industry, but showing the employees, the associates within the company, that we are listening, we are trying to stay ahead of the curve, at least in terms of ADP and what other companies are doing, but also keeping in mind how we want to retain that diverse talent.
And are these things that came about recently or over time? Some of these?
So the last 3 things, they came within the last 30 days, but there have been different stages of our benefits evolving since, I would say, over the last 9 to 10 years since I've been with the company.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Ann, I'd like to turn to you, and we'll stay on the talent topic. Where does an organization like IHG find diverse talent? So, of course, we know about the website. We all know about that. But when you sit down with your team and say, okay, guys, this is what we're looking for, where do you all look for diverse talent? Where should folks be spending their time if they're looking?
So we have partnerships. Similar to this association, we have partnerships with the Georgia Diversity Council, the National Diversity Council, Pride, the Atlanta Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. We also ensure that in our requisition processes that we have job boards that we leverage. And so we make sure that we're posting our jobs on diversity job boards so that we can attract talent. But one of the biggest sources for us of employment is our employee referrals. And so we've organically been growing some of our employee resource groups, our HERD, our IG, Out in the Open. You know, we have extensive lean-in organizations. So we rely on our people, you know, at our company to refer diverse talent to us as well, because that's where you get so many really good referrals. And then, of course, as my recruiters are recruiting, they're looking for diverse people in the market. So similar to what the other companies are doing, but we have different approaches as well.
Awesome. Giancarlo, I want to turn to you and pivot just a little bit, because we're talking about this technology and some of the things that Ann mentioned. I want to touch a little bit high level on artificial intelligence and the role that it's playing in human resources today. Everybody here on the panel, I'm sure we know about it, it's a little inside baseball, but how can we educate our group here about artificial intelligence and what they can expect as a job seeker in dealing with that today?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. Moved to Atlanta 17 years ago, and this is the first time I'm here, so I'm very happy. Second of all, you know, SAP, for those who don't know, we are a large enterprise software company. We're German-based, but we have our first CEO named here in North America about 10 years ago. So for us, it was a cultural change. And when we talk about diversity, think about diversity on the top level, right? So when you, for the last 32 years, you've been based in Germany, and then suddenly your CEO sits here. That's diversity for us. And analytics plays a huge role in that. You know, everybody interacts with technology every day. We pick our phones, tell us where to go, what roads to avoid, how long is it going to take us, how many calories we burn, how many steps we took. Problem is when you come to your company, right? You feel like you left half of your life outside sometimes. And analytics and you know, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of these concepts, you can add to that blockchain and you know, IoT, all of that means something, right? Technology is here, and the way we see it at SAP is to augment our capabilities. It's not to replace us. It's to augment what we can do, so that we can do something faster, so that we can focus on more strategic things. There are a lot of things computers cannot do for humans yet, right? There's a lot of that emotional intelligence that we as humans can pride ourselves to have, and if we don't have it, we can develop it. You know, it's one of the things we can actually go for. So in SAP, 10 years ago, we set up a goal to double the business. And in HR, it was a huge goal, which means is we need to support the business to grow double the size of employees from 48,000 to 98,000, grow revenue by doubling the revenue, doubling the profit, and we were asked to double the market cap, but we actually achieved 3 times that we were asked for. How we did that? Employing technology. So we have used, from different perspectives, how we measure the business, artificial intelligence to help with providing managers with the best tools to make the best decisions when it comes to talent, when it comes to recruiting. When it comes to recruiting, we have tools for recruitment and marketing, so we can measure what's the impact dollar per candidate that we hire, and we can extrapolate that 3 years inside the company and find out where are the best job boards for us for particular roles. So not every job board is the same or will give you the same return when it comes to candidates. So we have been using technology to let us know this is the best job for sales, this is the best job for engineers, and so on. So from an employee perspective, we also use artificial intelligence to let our employees feel that they have not lost half of their person outside the company. So for example, from learning, just like, you know, when you go to Amazon and you see a product and Amazon tells you people have also seen these other products. You know, when it comes to learning and deciding your career path inside a company, we use algorithms to tell employees, not only based on the role, but also on their age and their career's aspirations and their last 3 performance evaluations and what they're good at, what they're not good at, what others in their same shoes are learning. Outside the role, could be any, you could be comparing yourself to somebody in accounting, you're in sales, and somebody in logistics, but we tell you what others like you with the same aspirations are going for. And the last one, I guess, we created, using artificial intelligence, we were able to certify SAP last year to be a company that we pride ourselves of paying everybody the same for the same job, regardless of your background or your sex. That took us about 2.5 years working with our engineers in Silicon Valley. It wasn't an easy task. Today we are more than 98,000 employees in 110 countries. And in order to run a report that will allow you to find out what are discrepancies between payments of people that you have to add background, you have to add years of experience, you have to add performance evaluations in the last 5 to 10 years, and it was creating a huge monster when it came to analyzing that. Well, we got it, and we found 3,400 people out of 98,000 people that were getting deferred payment compared to their peers that had the same tenure, same year, same education, same job, same everything. We just paid them differently. Something that came out of that using artificial intelligence is that 2,800 women, and the difference between the 3,400 were men. So not only were we able to bring up, women in our company and pay the same that we were paying to their male peers, we were also able to benefit 800 males that were earning, for whatever reason, different amount of money. So that is to us in HR, one of the biggest use of artificial intelligence. That report took about 3 months to build. We had to run it several times until the system learned what we were looking for, and analyzing these many lines of rows of characteristics of a person, we were able to get to this data in about 2 weeks.
So artificial intelligence is here.
It's here, we use it, everybody uses it. I think most of us know of artificial intelligence when it comes to consumer, selling our products, but the difference is today companies are using it internally. One last example is today we have an algorithm built in our talent system that we can predict people when they're about to leave the company. And one of the best things we're looking at is their career path. We're looking at their projects and assignments they take on in addition to what they currently do, and most importantly, their learning path. I think one of the biggest things we notice is that when you stop learning, when you start your disengagement with any company. So we try to pursue that constant learning attitude and experience of our employees, because we know once they stop learning, they're about to leave us. They're onto something better and bigger, and we want to keep them with us.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. So Marcus, let's transition now. Let's talk a little bit about the interview, because I know there's a lot of rumors about the Chick-fil-A interview process. I know you said afterwards you'll be doing some face-to-face interviews this evening, so no, you won't. But panel interviews, of course, seem to be the way that a lot of companies are interviewing these days. Marcus, how should a candidate best prepare for a panel interview, in your opinion, and if you would, relate it to the Chick-fil-A process?
Absolutely. I'm sure we all probably could take a piece of this one. I would say relative to panel interviewing, particularly at Chick-fil-A, because we are such a relational company, there has been some rumor that it takes a little while. But what that's really about is the organization is attempting to do its due diligence to ensure that we can be a good career partner for an individual. So we have 98% retention at the support center, at the corporate center. And that has a lot to do with, number one, the due diligence that's done on the front end to ensure that we're partnering effectively, but secondly, to ensure that we know what an individual is driven by, motivated by, what their needs are, and so that we can really be good stewards over their career and their time. So relative to what that looks like in an interview process, I think particularly for us, probably with anyone, any organization, is know your story, know yourself, and know what you want. From the standpoint of an interview, it's unhelpful for me to interview with someone that does not know what they want in their career. And so, you know, we've got a black and white document in front of us relative to a job description and relative to objectives. And those objectives are meant for an organization to clarify what our needs are. On the other side of the table sits an individual who we expect has clarified their needs relative to career. And so it's a conversation at that point where we are really assessing whether or not we can walk together effectively. One of the deals that we have sort of bet on as an organization is that we want to partner with individuals for the long term. And that doesn't mean that individuals stay forever, but we feel that it's a stewardship play on our end to ensure that an individual can see themselves with Chick-fil-A for the long term. And for us, we're at an interesting point in the life cycle of our organization. We're essentially a blue-collar organization that found a way to make a great chicken sandwich. We connect with people. We steward relationships well. We are at a $10 billion footprint relative to the growth of your organization. We are maximizing our presence nationally. We're moving into international opportunities as well, moving toward Toronto in the very near future. And what we recognize as an organization is growth has been great, but growth is not guaranteed. And we're in a scenario where we're looking to find individuals that will help us think differently around what we've done, where we can go, how we engage the world, how we engage the market. And so, you know, the growth plan for us is by 2025, by 2020, we're moving toward $25 billion relative to our revenue, and that's going to take a lot of effort to grow us from a headcount standpoint and from a workforce standpoint. So when we meet with individuals, we're doing so very intentionally. We're looking for individuals that can contribute, but can communicate how they contribute, can thread the needle through the different spots on their resume to show how they were in charge of their own growth and their own destiny. Every decision, every entry on the resume was a calculated decision that they made to be at a place that they could add the most value as a contributor. Increasingly, that's looking like more spots on the resume, more roles on the resume for us. As long as you can show your intentionality and show the growth that you have that you've taken on at every spot, and how you were in control and you were in charge and you were driving your destiny and driving your growth and development, that's okay with us. We just want to be with folks that know where they are, know who they are, and are ready to contribute.
And doesn't Chick-fil-A, if I remember correctly, use the video interview process? You want to just touch on what is it that you all look for in those video interviews? A lot of people that I talk to say those are difficult because you have to stare at yourself on your phone, you got to answer these questions, and then you got 2 minutes, etc. What is it that you all look for when you look at those video interviews on the other side? Listen, we family here.
So I'll sum it up. I'll sum it up this way. There are a couple of things that we're looking for. The first is, again, an individual that knows their story well enough to be able to communicate it effectively. But we are also looking for an individual who's thought about how their brand shows up past just the words that they're saying. So what that means practically is, have you considered the lighting in the room? Have you considered what you're wearing? Are you treating this like an interview the same way that you show up physically in front of us? Have you thought through all the aspects of your answer? There are a number of different ways that sort of shows up, I think, in a video interview, but at the end of the day, what we're really looking for is, what is this individual's brand? and are they able to communicate it? Is this somebody that I could feel comfortable with from a stewardship standpoint flying in because they truly put the effort, even though it's a video interview in their college dorm room or in their boardroom at their office or wherever the case is, they thought about it and really presented their brand effectively. So in short, I think that's probably the way we think about it.
Thank you for that. These next set of questions will just be open to the panel, so please, anyone, feel free to chime in. I'd love to hear everyone's expertise. Let's talk about salaries, and Giancarlo, you touched on it, but again, for the entire panel, some nationwide studies have shown that women earn as low as 79 cents for every dollar that men earn. The theory is that salary history questions can inadvertently cause these inequities to snowball over time. What impact does the question about a candidate's previous salary history play in the recruitment process?
I'd love to talk about that.
Give it to me.
This is a great question.
Yes.
Because I work with my recruiters, and there's a lot of states that it is illegal to ask that question. And there's my understanding is federal legislation pending. And it is because it's true. It is absolutely true. So I've educated our recruiters that they do not ask that question. And what they ask instead is, what are your salary expectations versus, but invariably you will have a hiring manager that will say to the recruiter, I want to know what they're making. And we have this discussion and say, we are not asking that question, and so do not ask us. But they'll say, but how do I know what to offer them? It shouldn't matter, it's irrelevant. And so the other piece that's really important about this is when you're asked your salary expectations, don't give a range. Because if you give a range, your offer is going to come in at the low end of that range. So do your research, understand what's in the market, and there's a lot of technology out there that you can use to find out what are they paying in the market, what are other companies offering. Do your homework, and then make your expectation the high end so that you have room for negotiation. And so set yourself up for success by not telling them what you're making. And what I always tell the hiring managers are, how do you even know? Are you going to ask them for a W-4? I mean, they can tell you anything, right? But don't provide that information. And even if you're asked point blank, always say, my salary expectation is this. And don't offer it up. So, because it really will put you at a disadvantage.
My background has been in recruiting at Dionna for the past 15 years. And it's really interesting that I've definitely seen it with women, and I also would say people of color, that we seem to be intimidated during the process. We don't want to we don't want to say we want more than, we're not sure what they want to pay, we just want a job, right? It's a great company, or God forbid you're unemployed, right? You feel better, shouldn't be choosy, you need a job. Let me tell you from a recruiting standpoint that we can smell and sniff out that it's not good, right? You, just like you talked about a person's brand, you have to come to the table, whether you're unemployed, you've been laid off, this is an opportunity for growth, could be lateral. You have to come to the company and realize that in the interview process, you are interviewing that company just as much as they're interviewing you. Is this a place you want to spend 40 hours a week? Well, I say 40 nice, right? Yeah. And are these people that you want to work with? Is this manager someone that you want to spend time with and work on projects with? It's super important because those moments of, oh my gosh, I just need this job, they go away real fast when you start the job and you realize that you are being underpaid or feel underappreciated. So I just say that to say, know your worth. Understand your brand. Be confident when you apply to a role, like you were saying with Chick-fil-A, that you know the value you're bringing to that company, and you know your worth, what you're asking for. And don't lowball yourself. For God's sake, don't. Because I've even seen years and years ago where a person would ask for so little that the company would be like, well, they must not be at the caliber because they want so little money. So never do your research, understand what you're worth, and what you're worth is not necessarily what you're being paid at your current company, right? So just understanding the market, being confident, and also one of the biggest things that I noticed in recruiting is that women and minorities were very uncomfortable negotiating their salaries. You do not have to accept the first offer that comes, unless you're happy with it and the stars and the moon. I still think about it.
You just segued in, Tamara. I know we're going to go to Q&A next. I've got to get this in because she just let me. I told her don't start now. Won't be done. So, okay, thank you. We're going to touch on this briefly, and we're going to get to Q&A. But I want to lead off with you. I want to come to you on that because Mercedes has got to chime in on this one. According to a 2018 survey by JobBite, 51% of recruiters admit negotiating pay negatively impacted the decision to extend a job offer during the recruitment process. What impact does salary negotiation have on the recruitment process when you're actively recruiting someone?
So, in my experience, I've worked at several different companies, Target, Deloitte, now Mercedes, and I've not seen that personally. I think this whole issue of salary is an interesting one because in doing D&I work, we oftentimes butt heads with talent acquisition because this has been built into the DNA of many talent acquisition organizations just to ask what people's salary is. And when I came to Mercedes, I was like, to your point, we need to stop asking that. It's not relevant. It has nothing to do. Why are you asking just so you can screw people as much as you can? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. That's not what we're about. We want to give people fair compensation for what they bring to the table, for their experience, for their background. We want them to be happy to stay, and so we have to change that mindset. And so I think many people, on this panel see it, where we have to be the courageous ones that are saying, just because we used to do that is not what we should do now. Also, studies absolutely show women and people of color tend to be less likely to negotiate, and even when we do, we tend to lowball and underestimate our value. And so to me, there are lots of different, there's technologies out here, but listen, use your school networks. Get on that alumni website, reach out to people that work at whatever company you're interested in. Most people I know are happy to reach out, to give you some recon, to let you know what they know in terms of maybe what the salary ranges look like. You want to try to gather as much information as possible to get you in the driver's seat so that you can negotiate that fairly. And in my experience, I've never seen an employer look down upon that. In fact, I think to the point that was made, they view that as, once again, someone who knows their worth, someone that's confident, and someone that's going to bring that confidence into that organization, and once again, not be afraid to speak up and drive change. So I see it as a good thing, and I have not experienced where it's viewed negatively, although I have heard some studies that say it can be viewed negatively.
Marcus, I'm going to go to Giancarlo real quick, and then we're going to go to Q&A.
Yes, so in my experience, my best recommendation for any job seeker out there is to leverage technology. Number one, everybody has access to Google. Go to Google News, tag all the companies you want to work for, put your email, and you will receive weekly newsletters with all the news in the world about that one company. So when you're in the interview process, you really are knowledgeable about what's going on in that company. Are they growing? Are they going down? Are they staying? Are they expanding? So you can have a better discussion with the recruiter. Number two, follow them in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whichever social channel they have, so you can get the culture, right? Number three, go to Glassdoor. Okay, just like Yelp for restaurants, it used to be a long time ago. Now Glassdoor will allow you to find directly from other people that work in that particular company what they really think about the company. Us here as employers, we really take Glassdoor seriously because that's our brand, and we need to we take those comments and we act on those. So definitely look at Glassdoor for those particular companies you're looking for, and that comment about talking to people that work in that particular company is key. I mean, LinkedIn makes everybody connected these days. If you're on first, second, third connection, ask them a question. I'm trying to get to your company. How is the culture? You know, how flexible are they? They say they're flexible about work. They're really flexible about work, and get that discussion going. Anybody that has a job is always keen to help somebody else to get a job because we want that in return at one point in our lives.
Awesome. We'll move into our Q&A next. Are we ready?
Yes.
Awesome. Who's going to be our first question that we can go ahead and take? If you would, just state your name and what area of business that you're in and what your question is.
Sure. My name is Joe Faxio, I'm in Wealth Management. My question is for the gentleman from Chick-fil-A. You mentioned about you guys hire people who are in control of their destiny. What about outside factors that folks have no control? For instance, like layoffs. How do you suggest that someone addresses that? Because I've seen folks' careers, especially what I do. You hear all kinds of stories. Maybe they want to move the company. Maybe, so bad for you, for whatever reason, there's a lot of things at times that you cannot control. So how do you suggest someone, address that in an interview to sort of show they, they're strategic?
I would argue that you're still in control. Because what you're in control of is your brand. And you're in control of your story, right? So for me, as a recruiter, just to hear that somebody was laid off does not, in itself, that's a data point. That doesn't say anything necessarily about you, but what I want to hear is, what were the skills that you learned during your time there? I want to hear, what have you learned about yourself over the course of your period of layoff? What work have you done? What classes have you taken? If you're in IT, what are you tinkering with? What app are you building on yourself? If you're in wealth management, what types of classes or different things have you taken to build upon your capabilities and continue to drive and tell your own story? So I think relative to factors in the market and different things going on, it clearly, I agree, it's challenging sometimes, particularly with the way that the market has been, over the last several years. I mean, it's 4% of unemployment now. So, I mean, you're in a scenario now where a lot of times people are doing gig work and that sort of thing over the course of an extended period of unemployment. So I want to hear about that. I just want to hear your story. And I want you to, go ahead.
So I think what I hear you saying is not necessarily the control of the output, it's the control of the input during the process that you want to hear about.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Wright, I saw you nodding your head. Jay, I'm going to come to you in just a second. Were you nodding your head on that? You want the input?
I totally agree with what you shared. And in addition, you control your story is a major thing, because some people don't know how to talk about their story, and maybe something difficult has happened. So as long as you're as honest and candid as you can about the things that have happened in your career, internal to a company or even externally, depending on where you are in the interview process, a recruiter will appreciate you being candid. You can articulate what you've done, quantify your results, and be able to tell that story, whether it's in a resume or in an interview, that you try to impact that recruiter to pick up the phone and give you a call for that interview or actually for the next interview.
Jack, go right ahead. I know you, but everybody else doesn't know you.
All right, I'm Jay Wesley with Cocktail Chronicles. My question is, how do employers view entrepreneurs who has been out of the workforce for years? Is it possible for them to pick up where they left off in corporate America, or do they have to start all over at ground level? And I would love to hear what Ann has to say on this.
Thank you.
I'd also, when Ann's done, share my personal story.
Absolutely, that could be a very big positive, and what you should be marketing is, what have you done during that period of time, and how did you elevate whatever it was you were working on at that point in time? How did you elevate it? What did you do from a marketing perspective? Because if you think about it, you're a one-man show. I mean, you're doing your own marketing, you're doing your own sales, you're doing whatever the business is. You have to really play almost every role that would be valuable for a company. So leverage that as an opportunity to show how you, with your creativity, your brand, that what you achieved, what you accomplished, how you grew your business, and don't look at it as though I wasn't part of corporate America. I was actually my own businessman, and this is what I was achieving, this is how I did it, this is how I marketed it. Those are skills that are invaluable to a company, and especially nowadays, we're looking for those type of people that actually can bring to the table those unique type of qualities and attributes to any business, whether it's a sales business, it's an HR business. Business has changed. Your HR division used to be typically very people-oriented, right? Now it's strategy people, it's statistics, it's analytics, and the business has changed so much, and there's opportunities to showcase what you've accomplished and leverage it by selling your brand, selling your business, what you've achieved and what you've accomplished.
And I would like to add, from a personal perspective, so I started out my career at Deloitte. I was there almost 10 years, worked at Target for 4 years. Then I became an entrepreneur. I had my own diversity and inclusion consulting firm for 10 years. And my first job post that was head of diversity and inclusion at Mercedes-Benz USA. So it goes back to what you were just saying about what is your story and what is your brand. I was able to talk about what I did in those 10 years, the clients I had, how I got those clients, the relationships I had made, the results I had helped drive. My clients were global, so I talked about everything from the global companies to the small tech firms to the colleges and universities. My story was very compelling, and then I talked about how I could then provide that experience to help them think out of the box, to share best practices and benchmarking, all of that, that I could bring to the table to Mercedes-Benz. So it's absolutely, you're in control, your story, you just have to craft it and be able to talk about how that helped you and how it will help them with you and their organization.
Thank you. Ma'am, you go right ahead. What's your name?
Yes, hi, good evening. I'm Aisha, I work for Target. And my question is, when you've decided to apply for that job that's kind of that next level for you, what's the best strategy to incorporate in your resume to get through the job application process?
It's key. It's knowing your story, but it's also the job that you're looking for. What are the qualities that you're going to bring to that specific job? So you tailor it to the position that you're looking for. So if your background, say, is in, my background was in project management and strategy, right? But I really wanted to work in the talent acquisition space. So what I did was I leveraged my background, because I have Six Sigma background in project management and strategy, to say how I could evaluate the talent acquisition organization and really try to bring it to the next level by using those skills. So it's taking the skills, the capabilities, the background, what you have, but tailoring it for that job and how you are going to make that job successful and what you're going to bring to the table relative to that position. And that's really the best approach, because they want to see, what are you going to do for this organization, for this job? How are you going to take it to the next level? How are we going to help to achieve our goals?
I also like to add projects, right? So if you're taking stretch projects or working on projects, cross-functional projects, definitely find a way to highlight those projects. Also, this is where I think BRGs really can come into play as well, which are business resource groups or employee resource groups in some companies. So at Delta, we have a number of them as well. So you have your Black employees, women, et cetera. One of the ways that we're really finding to leverage that is that being a leader in these organizations, you don't have to be at manager level, and you can be a leader in these organizations, and you are taking on projects. You are being able to present in front of executives that you would not otherwise get in front of. And I think a lot of people don't realize the true power of BRG. Not only does it give you development opportunities, but it's a great way for you to showcase leadership. And when you do those types of things, you want to make sure that that is reflected on your resume as well.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead. And this is relative to basically pulling together, just remembering your digital brand as well. So we talked about the resume. That's obviously a very important tool in your toolkit. But I also, if I'm looking at a resume and I have questions, the first place I might go is LinkedIn to learn more about you. So make sure you're leveraging that piece of your brand. In the creative space, in marketing, I've often had folks have a digital portfolio of some sort hosted on the site, or potentially if it's an IT person, maybe they've got some links to a website that they've built. So that's particularly helpful if you are trying to communicate your brand, and it's not necessarily black and white for me as a recruiter. Use your digital brand, opportunities that you might have in the digital space to tell your story as well.
Just to add one thing. For this, in addition to the BRGs, things that we currently stretch projects, in addition to National Black MBA, volunteer opportunities, be a part of committees. There are a lot of different professional development organizations, including MBA. So make sure you're leveraging them if you have the capacity outside of your job.
For our next two folks, thank you, ma'am. We have to cut just because of time, and we have some more things to get to. However, our panelists have committed to staying here until 9 o'clock tonight, so we'll be around to answer your questions. Can we give our panelists